What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Match Me Abroad, Season 2, Episode 4, A Slow Burn. Let's talk about our newest cast member, Sarah. So, Sarah is 36 years old. She's from Houston, Texas, but when you look at her, she's giving LA. She's giving Miami. I'm not saying that women in Texas are not. Um, don't look like this. There are plenty of women across the United States that are heavily um, done up. Okay, as far as like the lip fillers, the cheek injectors, you can tell that she's had her nose done. Even though I don't even know what her nose looked like before, I can just tell that she had her nose done. The bundles and bundles of hair, all of that artificial look. I know it's not unique to just certain cities. I know it is across the board, all over the place. I get that. But like I said, when I saw her, I felt like, oh, this woman is so LA. She is so California, but she's from Houston, Texas, from the South. So when we see her, she is bedazzling a denim jacket. I didn't know people still did this. I'm not up to date with what's fashionable and what's trendy. So I didn't know that people were still wearing and buying bedazzled denim jackets, but that's what she was doing because she does have her own online jewelry and accessory business. She's hoping to find love in Singapore. And the reason why she is focused on finding a man from Singapore is because she says she believes that Singapore men are very masculine. They're very business oriented. They are all about family because she really wants to have kids in the future. And her previous relationship ended because the man did not want children. So it's really important for her to find a partner that wants to have a family. So when we see Dolly, the next time that we see her, she has arrived in, not Dolly, when we see Sarah, she has arrived in Singapore and she's meeting with Dolly, the matchmaker. So that initial meeting is just a greeting, welcome to Singapore type of thing. Sarah has traveled to Singapore with her mother, and I keep that in mind. So they see each other in the beginning, and when they sit down, the first thing that Dolly says to Sarah, she compliments her and says, "Oh my God, you look like a celebrity." Now, I understand that on the surface, that's a compliment. Oh my God, I look like a movie star. I look like somebody famous. But in actuality, I kind of saw it as a backhanded compliment because I know that Dolly was referring to her very manufactured look. Because right now, celebrities in 2025, okay, they are extremely heavily manufactured. Your actors, your entertainers, your influencers, your really big social influencers, they are very heavily done up. Okay, extremely done up. When you watch a makeup tutorial, okay, just a makeup tutorial alone, I am amazed on how many steps it takes to apply makeup because back in my day when I used to wear makeup, because I haven't worn makeup in a very long time. I don't know, probably 20 years or something. But when I used to wear makeup, like in my high school days, college days, it was very simple. Some foundation, some pressed powder. Back then, lip liner was really big. Your lip liner, your lipstick, some mascara, and you're good to go. But now it takes about 2 hours for someone to apply makeup with all the different products that they're putting on their face. So that alone, you can tell that she's into that. But on top of that, you can also tell that Sarah has had some type of cosmetic surgery. Like I said, I don't know what her nose looked like before, but I can tell that she's had a nose job. And you can see obviously she's got the lip fillers and you can see that she's got the lip injector. I mean the cheek injectors. I don't know if she's had a facelift. She's only 36 years old. I pray to God that she hasn't. But she's at her Botox appointment like clockwork and she never misses a session. So she does have that very overdone look. So when Dolly complimented her and told her she looked like a celebrity, I saw it as a backhanded compliment because celebrities right now don't even look like themselves. They look very artificially made. And there's this cookie cutter image of women who have had a lot of work done on their face. They have the overly inflated lips. They have the overly done cheekbones. Their eyes always have a certain look to them, like their skin has been pulled to the max, like they can barely close their eyes when they're sleeping. There's a look to it, and Sarah definitely has that look. So she does look like your, very common 2025 celebrity, famous person, what have you. She does have that look. She does not look natural at all. So Dolly says that she tells us, she doesn't tell Sarah this, but in her confessional, Dolly tells us that there are Asian versions of Sarah. Now, that's not me saying it, that's Dolly saying it. These are her words, so I'm quoting her verbatim. There is like Asian versions of people like Sarah who are overly done, overly made up, very manufactured looking. But those type of women tend to be sugar babies looking for sugar daddies. And the men that they attract are the kind of men that are only interested in women based on their looks. They're very superficial. And so we're assuming that Sarah is looking for something a lot deeper than that. She's looking for a man who will want her for who she is and not be so focused or enamored by her looks, by her physicality. Dolly hopes to find the true Sarah underneath all of this glitz and glam. And she's hoping that the true Sarah is a confident woman and not a woman who is hiding her insecurities. That all of this hair, all of this makeup, all of this work is just hiding a lot of insecurities deep down inside, which I think it is. So Sarah wants to choose a guy, excuse me, Dolly wants to choose a guy for Sarah that wouldn't be her typical type of man, her type. I'm not even sure what Sarah's type is at this point. Before they have their official meeting, Dolly's meeting with some of her colleagues and they're trying to figure out what kind of man to choose for Sarah. And so she tells her colleagues, no, we can't find her a man that is typically her type. I don't even know what her type is. I didn't even talk about what her type is. We know what her type isn't, which is a man who doesn't want children. Other than that, I don't really know because her type from what she described seems like any woman would want a man like that, masculine, business oriented, family man. That's what Sarah described and I don't see what's wrong with that. So she finally has her official meeting with Dolly and I'm sorry with the names. Sarah finally has her official meeting with Dolly and she comes with her mother. And Dolly, the matchmaker, mentions that, normally, I meet with my clients one on one. I'm not used to having like a relative attend the meeting. So at some point, Sarah, I would like for us to have a one on one. But her mom is there. And so she's not going to kick her mom out. And we got to work with what we got. Dolly, okay, Sarah tells her matchmaker that what she's looking for in a man. So she gives her the description of what she's looking for in a man. And Dolly says that she does have a potential match for Sarah. But before they get too deep into that, she asks Sarah, would you be willing to unglam? Because the men in Singapore prefer a much natural looking woman. And Sarah was like, no, no. That's almost like a non-negotiable for her. No, she's not going to unglam. And Dolly asks her, well, what if your date wants to do something outdoorsy? Are you going to show up with a face full of makeup? And Sarah says, yes. Mm-hmm. She says, I always wear makeup unless it's nighttime and then I go full glam. Because I was looking at Sarah and I'm like, this isn't your full glam? This is not full glam for you? Wow. Ooh, Jesus. Okay. So, the men in Singapore, Dolly tells her that the men in Singapore are not used to all of this. And surprisingly, Sarah's mom, who I think has had a little bit of work done herself, agrees with Dolly. And she was like, yeah, I tried to tell her to look a little bit more natural, to tone it down a little bit because she doesn't want to attract the wrong type of man. And Sarah tells us in her confessional that she's going to stay true to herself and that she spent many years creating this look, and this look ain't going nowhere. Not for nobody. This is who she is in her mind. To her, this is who she is. And so this is what it is. Um, even if you were to take off all of her makeup, you still have the fillers that are quite obvious. You know what I mean? You still have all the fillers on her face that are very, very obvious. So yeah, it's really sad that women as young as Sarah, 36 years old, and she says it took her years to achieve this look. So she started this process probably when she was in her early 30s, maybe in her 20s as well. It's really sad that women who are so naturally beautiful I don't know if they feel pressured by society to look a certain way because they see their faves on social media and in the movies or whatever, all done up. I don't know if that's what's getting them, or if they really have issues of body dysmorphia, or if they really take a little bit too far in trying to fix themselves up. I don't know what it is, but these women naturally, and of course, what comes to mind if you watch my channel at all, I review 90 Day Fiance, and I'm thinking about what's her name, Darcy and Stacy. How completely, how far they've gone with their surgeries, with their procedures, and how beautiful they were when they were natural before all of this stuff took place. It's just really, really sad how women now have how far they've gone in trying to achieve some mystical look, trying to achieve some type of aesthetic that is unachievable. And in the process of doing that, they're all looking like mannequins. They all are getting this very cookie cutter, because Sarah doesn't look that different from Darcy and Stacy, or from Shekinah. You know, it doesn't look that different from those type of women. It's just really sad. I can go on and on and on about that, but I ain't got the time. Moving on to Amber. So Amber, who was dating, she had gone on a date with Kevin, and what bothered her about Kevin, this was last week and the week before, what bothered her about Kevin was that he lived at home with his family. That's what bothered her. So her matchmaker, Katerina, suggests that, well, you know, you should explore other men, other dates, and I have someone else in mind for you. And he does not live with his family. Now, Katerina tells us that it's very typical for Irish men to live with their families until they get married. This is very common. But because she's here to please her client Amber, and Amber wants a man that is not living at home with his family, she has found Paul. So Amber is on her way to meet Paul. So she arrives on his property. He lives out. I mean, Ireland is so beautiful, so lush, so green, just such a pretty, pretty country. So they're driving way out of the way, out of the city, and he lives on in the middle of nowhere practically, and like acres and acres of land. And so she arrives on his property and she's looking for him, and he's in his shed. And he's the kind of guy that makes a lot of stuff from wood. So he works with his hands a lot. So she finds him in his shed. We see Paul, and when we meet Paul, he even has a Paul shirt. His shirt, from what I could see, it had a heart and then Paul, like love Paul or something. But Amber tells us that his shirt said, "Hi, my name is Paul," or "Hi, I'm Paul." I didn't see that on the shirt. I saw a heart, and then I saw his name Paul after the heart. But anyway, she finds him attractive. Okay, fine. And Paul says that he has never dated an American woman, and his first thoughts about Amber is that she's not his, typical type of woman that he would normally go out with. But he does find her beautiful. He finds her fun, and he really likes her bubbly personality, and a bubbly personality she has. I've always said that I like Amber. I like Amber a lot. I like her personality. I like the fact that, she's not a complainer. Even if whatever is going on might not be her thing, she's still going to go with the flow and make the best out of it. And so that really shows. I think that makes her even more attractive than what she really is, because of her personality and a really fun demeanor. So he takes her around the property, shows her what he does, his wood carving stuff that he does in the shed. Then they go inside his house and he makes her some tea. Keep that in mind. So they're in the kitchen while he's brewing the tea, and he tells her that he doesn't have a refrigerator. I guess I'm not exactly sure what the context of the conversation was, but he said that he didn't have a refrigerator. He didn't have a dishwasher, like all the amenities that she would be used to in the United States, or that anybody would be used to anywhere, really. He doesn't have any of that stuff. So he's really roughing it out there. And then they talk about his toilet. He tells her that he has a compost toilet. She's very curious about that. So he takes her to the bathroom to see what that is. And basically, it looks like a regular toilet, but it doesn't use water, I don't think. I'm not sure. And it doesn't flush. And so you do your business in the toilet, and then you cover it with sawdust, and then move it into the garden. Okay. Your waste into the garden, and then you use your garden you use your waste as a fertilizer for your garden. So after that little demonstration, they go back into the living room and they're drinking their tea. And he mentions that the herbs and the leaves that he used for the tea actually came from his garden, which he just told her is fertilized by his waste. And so she's putting two and two together and she's like, oh my God, I'm actually drinking poop tea. His poop. So that was the end of Paul. Needless to say, she won't be seeing Paul again. And right now, Kevin seems like an absolute dream, him and his family that he lives with, compared to Paul. Let's quickly move on to Monica. So Monica is she's still on her date with Bernardo when we see Monica, and they were on the conversation about children. And she asks him, do you want children? He says, yes, eventually I'd like to be a father. And then she tells him that, personally, myself, I do not want any more children. I'm done with that. I'm at that stage in my life where it's all about me and I just want a lot of leisure time. I want to be able to travel and do all the fun stuff in life. And I don't really want to be raising kids. Of course, I'm ad-libbing here, but that was the gist of her message to him, of what she was trying to let him know. And so she was like, are kids like a deal breaker for you? And he was like, you know what? It is what it is. We'll figure all that out. He didn't say, yes, it's a deal breaker. I need to have children. But he didn't say, I could live without kids. He was just kind of like, oh, it's just, it is what it is. It's whatever. But the impression that she got was that he really wasn't like, it was hardcore on having kids. Like he could go either way. So, but I feel like if that's what she's looking for, she wants a man who doesn't want children and she wants to be able to travel and have all this leisure time. I think Monica should probably look at a man who's a little bit older and maybe who is retired and obviously has enough capital to live a life of travel and leisure. I don't know why, because a man in Bernardo's age range, like in their 30s, these are the type of men that are ready to settle down and they want children. They want to settle down. They want to have their own family. So I don't know why she would want to choose a man in this age range, because it's very, very likely that they're going to want to have kids, where she would be better off with an older man who's done raising his own children or who just never really wanted kids. But what the hell do I know? And I don't understand how the matchmakers are matching. Like, I think children, whether or not you want children, is like matchmaking 101. That has to be like the top three questions that your client has to answer on the questionnaire. The top three questions. Do you want children? And then like some follow up questions. Are you open to having children, or is it a hard no when it comes to kids? It's an absolute deal breaker if someone wants to have children or they don't want to have children. That needs to be really, really explored a lot. It doesn't seem like these matchmakers on this show really care about that. So, because they're matching people who are not compatible in the children department. So anyway, Bernardo says that, yeah, it's okay. You never know what the future holds regarding kids. Monica tells us that Bernardo gives her that warm, mushy feeling inside. And I'm like, girl, this is your first date. And the only deep question she's actually asked him was, does he want children or not? So after they're done having drinks or whatever, he asks her, "Can I walk you back to your room?" She says yes. So they're in front of her hotel room now, and it's a time where he has to give her a kiss goodnight, and it was not a peck; it was a very deep, passionate kiss. And I thought when I was looking at it initially, I was like, oh, I don't think she really likes it. I think he's moving too fast, because it, I'm not saying that I don't want to be one of those, new age people, those really woke people that's like, everything you do, you have to ask, can I hold your hand? Can I put my arm around your shoulder? I'm not one of those type of people, but I felt like, um, there's no way to ask someone, can I give you a deep, passionate kiss? But I felt like he should have been a little bit more respectable and just gave her a very simple goodnight kiss. Luckily for him, she didn't mind, because she is attracted to him. So she tells us that she didn't mind the kiss at all, that it really woke up a lot of feelings and stuff in her. And it made her feel like a teenager. And it even had her questioning whether or not she was in love. And I'm like, Monica, this is your first date with this man. And even though you believe that y'all went really deep with the conversation, I didn't see the depth of y'all's conversation other than the children thing. And for him to just kind of dismiss the whole whether or not, he wants to have kids, to be kind of dismissive of it when he found out that she didn't want kids. I thought that was a red flag. I would need him, not even a red flag, but if I was Monica, I would have wanted a more concrete answer. I don't want to have children. Are you okay with never having kids? If we're going to be together. But he kind of blew it off, and she really didn't go any deeper than that. So later on, she meets with her matchmaker, Louisa, and Monica tells her that this was the best day she ever had. And Louisa was shocked, as was I, because I was like, y'all played what was it called? Foot volleyball or something. Um and then y'all went out for drinks. How did this become the best day that you ever had? Was it because him and his friends took off their shirt when y'all played beach volleyball? Is that what made it the best? Or was it how he basically swallowed your face whole when he gave you the goodnight kiss in front of your hotel room? Like, what made it the best? I didn't understand. I was like, well, okay, you know what? I'm not going to take that away from her. Compared to her other first dates, maybe this was the best. Maybe her other first dates in the past have been real duds. So maybe this was the best. So, like I said, the matchmaker was really shocked that she described this as the best day she's ever had. And the matchmaker was like, tell me more. What made it so wonderful? And Monica tells her because of his demeanor. I liked his demeanor. And he was kind of like on the more reserved side. Like it seemed like he was a little shy, um a little bit introverted. He wasn't like boom, just wild and out there like our boy David, who was dousing his eye with hot sauce. He wasn't on that level at all, but he did have a very quiet demeanor. Yeah, his demeanor was fine. And she said that she liked their conversation, and she goes, oh, and guess what? I asked him all the deep questions like you told me to. Maybe they edited all the deep questions out, because the only deep question that she asked him, oh, she did ask him about his finances as well. But he also gave a very surface type of answer when she asked him, so how do you handle your finances? Do you pay your bills on time? That was the extent of her question. And he was like, yeah, yeah. So I don't know where she's referring to when she talks about all of this deep conversation. So then Monica tells Louisa about the kiss and how passionate it was. And it was really exciting for her. And she really enjoyed it. And Louisa wasn't really that impressed, because Louisa does not want her clients to be so heavily invested on chemistry and attraction. She wants them to dig deeper and to really get to know each other as people, as a person, and not just, oh my God, he's so cute, or oh my God, she's so hot, I want to see them again. She needs something more than that. And so it seemed like, Monica really didn't do her homework, really didn't dig deep enough. And so Luisa's a little bit worried about this connection. So Luisa says, well, what about Bruno? Now, Bruno was a guy that Luisa matched her with before she came to Brazil. And I think she FaceTimed him or watched a video of him. I really wasn't sure. I can't remember. And Monica was like, forget Bruno. I like Bernardo. I want to see Bernardo again. And so Luis is like, yeah, I understand all that, but you don't want to, you know, limit your options. And Louisa talks about how Monica is the kind of woman that kind of rushes into things. And so she needs her to slow down, and she needs her to explore other options. So eventually Monica does agree to see Bruno. And Luisa's like, promise me that you're not going to kiss him, and really try to get to know him as a person. So we'll see if that works out. Moving on to Victoria. So Victoria had that really crazy, crazy date with David, who decided to put Tabasco sauce in his eyeball. And so when we see them again, he is trying to save his eye and trying to save his vision by rinsing out this Tabasco sauce that he voluntarily put in his eye. So I guess after the burn subsided, he wanted to continue on with their date. He wanted to continue on with eating the oysters. I would have gone straight to the damn doctor if I was him, just to make sure there's no residue, that I didn't do any type of permanent damage to my eye. But no, he wants to sit down and continue eating oysters. And so Victoria was kind of like, oh, well, okay. She really didn't want to, but she tells us in her confessional that she doesn't want confrontation. And I'm like, girl, that's not confrontational to say, hey, I'm tired. Let's just, call it a night and we'll talk later. That's not being confrontational. It's perfectly okay, because trust and believe, if he wanted to end the date, he would have ended it. So They continue eating, and David asks her if she's open to having a serious relationship. And she just bypassed that. She didn't answer that question at all. So she moved on to other things. And Victoria tells us that David is a little bit too much for her, obviously. Even though she talked about wanting a bad boy, and she told her matchmaker, Katerina, that she wanted a bad, there's something about David that gave bad boy vibes. He's just crazy. Okay, this man needs to be evaluated. Not bad boy. Bad boys don't do dumb things. So later on, she meets up with Katerina, the matchmaker, and Katerina tells her, "Oh my God, David was just crazy about you, and he wants to see you again." And Victoria was like, "Yeah, that's a hard no for me." So she tells her about the hot sauce in the eye, and she tells Katerina, "Look, he's just not for me. It was just a little bit too much," and so she's not interested in seeing him again. Now, another issue is that she does not want children, but David does. Once again, Katerina, why are you matching people who are so polar opposite when it comes to certain major things? These matchmakers on this show, it's like they don't even do the most basic research on their clients. Like, why would you match people who are so different when it comes to having kids? So Victoria, because she's a people pleaser, she doesn't like confrontation, she doesn't want to make people feel bad, she puts the onus on herself and says, well, I should have um, explained myself more when it came to the topic of children. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure if you had checked, no, I don't want kids, that's all you needed to know. She should have explored that deeper with you on, like, how adamant are you on not having kids before she matched you with a man who wanted children. So Victoria tells us the reason why she doesn't want to have children is because she believes that addiction runs in her family. Her dad had a very serious addiction problem that was very, very problematic and affected their relationship. And so she doesn't want to pass on those genes to any future generation. And then they talk about how much of a people pleaser she is because Katerina called her out on not telling David that she was ready to end the date when she wanted to end the date. And also, Katerina is also reference to the fact that when Katerina asked her to make a list of what she looks for in a man, and her friends helped her with that list. It really wasn't her ideas, it was like more of her friends' ideas. And so Katerina's like, I need her to get to the point where she can express herself more, be more vulnerable and open with herself, and not be so guarded and not be such a people pleaser. And I'm like, Katerina, you're just her matchmaker, sweetheart. You're not her therapist. That's my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video if you like this content. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.